So I went to camp in 1998. I went kicking and screaming. Like, I did not want to go to camp at all. I was super nervous and terrified. First couple days, I was pretty miserable and homesick, and I cried myself to sleep every night, and wrote my parents this like terrible letter on Tuesday about how much I hated camp and how I wanted to come home and I missed them all so much. And then Silent Night happened on Tuesday night, and I really like figured out camp and figured out what the message was and started having the time of my life. And I ended up leaving camp feeling like, yep, I'm gonna do this. I'm not gonna smoke, I'm not gonna drink. I'm gonna make good choices, I'm gonna be me, and it had a really positive impact on me. Before camp, I was part of like the Mean Girls clique, and we made fun of other people and cut them down, and I didn't really belong in that clique. I just was kind of there to be like their punching bag, and they made fun of me a lot because I didn't wear jeans, I wore stretch pants, and I didn't wear t-shirts, I wore cat sweaters. And once I went to camp, when I went back to school in 7th grade, I made the choice to change my friend group, which was a really tough thing to do. And I always talk about that feeling of like going through the lunch line and not knowing who to sit with. But luckily I found a small group of kids that were nice enough to let me sit with them, and I ended up meeting some of my best friends that I'm still friends with today, and they were crazy and weird and just funky and accepted me for exactly who I was. In 9th grade, a couple days after Christmas, my dad ended up getting arrested. I came from a family that I didn't understand why my dad would go to jail. He was a great dad and a great person, and had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease the summer after I went to camp, and had to take pain pills for that. And so he had become addicted to his pain medication, and it turns out, we found out that night, that he had been scamming pharmacies and stealing pills from his mom. And he was a drug addict. So my dad had to go to jail, and then he had to go to treatment, and that was very shocking for me, and I forgot about camp. Threw it out the window, started hanging out with a bad crowd and making bad choices. It got so bad that at a certain point, I decided that I was tired of feeling that way. I had depression really bad, and anxiety, and I was sad like every night, every day. And so I made the decision to end my life. I had a plan. I used to have a bottle of alcohol in my closet when I was in high school, and I would drink that alcohol until I could fall asleep every night. So I made a plan that one night I was going to drink that bottle until I fell asleep and didn't wake up again. And so the night came, my junior year in high school, and it was November. My parents were gone, my brother was gone, and I went upstairs to get the bottle of alcohol out, and I sat on the floor and started drinking and crying. And I had the radio on in the background, and I wasn't like listening to the music, but all of a sudden a song came on, and it was Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, which was the camp song in 1998. And it sort of woke me up, and it was like God speaking to me saying, what are you doing? I'm not done with you yet. Remember this camp, remember everything you learned about yourself, about how special you are and how God has a plan for you, and you need to trust in me. And so I got my camp binder out. I had to dig through my desk drawers. It was like way at the bottom of my desk drawer, but I still had it from 1998, and I looked through everything, the songs, and remembered the talks and remembered everything I learned, and I made the decision to quit what I was doing. After that night, I made the choice that I wanted to go back, and I didn't know anybody that was going to be working, so I was pretty terrified because I was a very shy person back then. And but I did it. I submitted my application, I got accepted, and I was so thankful to be back at Celebrate Me Week in 2003 as a staffer. Tuesday we had our recovery talk, and an addict from Mankato came out to talk to the kids about addiction. When I got to the tent, I realized that the addict that was speaking was my childhood friend John, who I grew up down the street from. And I sat in the tent and listened to his story. God spoke to me again and said, Shannon, you've got to get up there and share your story, because John messed up and made mistakes, but John didn't have camp, and you did. And so even though you had camp, you still messed up and you still made bad choices. And so you've got to share that with these kids, that even though they're here, they're still at risk for making these choices. So I got up and I was shaking, I was so scared. And I shared my story with the kids, and I really expected that when I got off the stage that the executive directors were going to come up and say, I'm sorry, you're not a good person and you can't be here, you have to leave. And of course that's not what happened. When I got off the stage, I was met with unconditional love, and people hugged me, thanked me for sharing my story and for my courage. And it felt really good, and I felt accepted and still loved, and it was just another encouraging factor in my road to recovery. I am addicted to camp. I love it. It's heaven on earth, and I feel the most at peace and the most happy during the year when I drive through those gates. And I don't